Hello, everyone, and welcome to Get Better, a show about two longtime friends trying their best, growing up, and hopefully getting better. I'm Zach Johnson.
And I'm Sam Cherry. Welcome to this week's episode of Eight-Legged Freaks, where we talk about...
I really thought that you were going to do something where you were going to say, like, and I'm Chad Scientist, Sam Cherry.
I love Chad. To be fair, I loved Chad Scientist. He was my favorite character.
Yeah.
I really liked Gary and Carol. I don't know.
Mike and Carol.
Lovers, but
hello, audience. We are in a new segment. If you didn't,
welcome to Midnight Movies, and I'll add some reverb on there.
Yeah. So this is a segment we started last week where Sam first came to me with a movie that he had watched. I literally already forgot what it was. What movie was that?
It was a late night double feature picture show.
Right,
it was
yes.
Flash Gordon and Forbidden Planet.
Yes, and
but
so
these people are the majority of the people listening to podcasts binge them, I believe. So they just heard that minutes ago.
Yeah. But for
most
those who
people
didn't,
listening heard it minutes ago.
For those that are new to the scene, yes. So Sam and I started that last week, and we're continuing on this week, and hopefully we'll be doing it a bit of a sci-fi summer as we're going through old sci-fi flicks. And this week around, we're getting right into it. We're zooming.
I'm
right through this.
Ready, dude.
I'm amped. I got my notebook out. I'm ready to talk about this.
Let's talk about these fucking spiders, man.
Yeah, no, not spiders. Sam and I watched the 1958 classic Earth versus the Spider.
You're right, not spiders. The spider.
It is one singular spider, and if
I can skip to the end, I know that we're going to go through the film, but like if I can skip to the end, my one criticism, genuinely, my one criticism of
is that
this film
there's only one spider?
Is that it did not end with a shot, and maybe this is a more modern conveyance, but it did not end with a shot of a clutch of eggs in the cave.
Oh, see, now I
can't believe it didn't do that.
Yeah, I had a similar thought, but I'll get to that when we get to the end of the movie.
Yeah, we can go to the beginning of the movie, but anyway, that was my one criticism. So, I was yelling at my TV that there was not a clutch of eggs in the last shot.
So a non-spoiler review, and I don't know why you would even think we're going to not get into a spoiler review of Earth versus the Spider, a movie from over 60 years ago.
But it's also a classic sci-fi movie. Like, how is it going to go? The spider wins?
Yeah.
It doesn't.
It is a very classic sci-fi movie. It is like, there's just a handful of characters. It's a small town. There is a giant spider.
Who screams, which I didn't know spiders
who screams.
could do.
The spider terrorizes the town, but it's okay because the townsfolk got something for that spider's ass. And it is, spoilers, electricity. Because this is once again a 1950s horror movie. It's like a classic monster movie.
It was so good. Anyway, go on.
But I mean, what are your initial thoughts of this movie? I really liked it.
I loved it. I really enjoyed it a lot. I feel like with all of these movies, and I felt the same about Flash Gordon and Forbidden Planet, like I think there is something about the charm of these movies where like I don't know, because I think on a technical level, they're worse movies, right? Like, even on a storytelling level, they're probably less complicated. But because they are so genuine, because these are the movies that invented the tropes, they feel so genuine in a way that I really enjoy. Like, I like them. Whereas if a modern film had done the same thing, I'd be like, yeah, this is old hat. And there's something really charming about the fact that, like, no, this isn't old hat for them. This is like the first or one of the first times they did this. And I think something about that is really charming, which I give it way more grace than I do modern films. And I understand that because I would shit on a modern film if it was this, but I really enjoyed it a lot. Except Hugo. The Hugo scene is the best scene in cinema.
And boy howdy. There was lots of things with it that I really enjoyed. I thought the special effects were intensely clever. Because like once I'd figured out what they were doing, because it's very rare that like in modern movies you can make a computer do anything, so it's like you don't really even know exactly what is special effects and what isn't. But this one you can tell kind of, but there's still like a level of very high skill it takes to pull off a lot of the shots that they did. And
which, to be fair, before because you know of my profession, it takes an incredibly high amount of skill to do
absolutely.
CGI as well.
Yeah. I thought that like
I agree.
I just think that I think the for me it wasn't about the skill it take to do it. And that's not what I was really getting into. It was more of just how clever the workarounds were.
Sure.
So I think as we said, the movie takes place where there's this big spider and it's terrorizing this town. And there are shots with the spider. It is in frame with the people. But yeah, what they had done was I'm pretty sure they had taken like 2 separate shots of like the spider in a miniature town and a shot of the people from far away. And they had like spliced them together on the actual film. And
now what I was assuming they were doing was that they had a section of the set. So they would be in like the cave set.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a big section of it that was empty or like black. And then they would sort of negative that out. That part of the film was transparent.
Mm-hmm.
And then underneath it, they would play footage of a spider walking, and then they filmed that in like, if you look at, I can't explain it to the audience. Just look up like how Star Wars made anything. And so they have the 2 pieces of film on top of each other, playing on top of each other, and then they take a picture of that, and that's how they get the final product, where you have the spider walking over or walking behind these like big caverns, but actually they're just, it's the negative space in the set. That was my guess. I
thought that's interesting. I thought that's probably true. I mean, you know more about this than me. I think I just kind of saw it as like there were sections where there was like kind of a split screen sort of thing, but the split always happened with like a house in the way. And so when the spider would go, it was like walking off frame, but because of the way that it was spliced, it looked like it was walking behind a house.
So my guess is that the house is a part of the set. All of that is the set. Everything but the spider is the set.
Mm-hmm.
And then that area where the spider's walking is probably not a green screen, but just like a big area of black. And then they sort of take the negative and make it translucent. That's my guess.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, the one, there is one shot in particular that I was extremely impressed with. And it's one where you see the spider out a window. And it's in the middle of the so everything else has been happening where the spider has been walking from basically it's a spider. It's walking from one end of the frame to the other.
It's a real ass spider.
It's a real ass spider. It is a real ass tarantula.
It's not an animatronic.
Which I think makes I think the actual tarantula makes a cameo in the movie.
Which I thought was wild because in that scene he's like kills a spider and they're like, we got too many spiders around here. I'm like, yo dog, you just have tarantulas like around? And because it was the 50s, they probably actually killed that bug. Like they probably knocked it off the desk and actually stepped on it.
4-time real time, at the very least, like definitely scooped it off of they scooped it off the desk onto the floor. But they probably they probably needed the spider for like reshoots. I don't know. Or maybe that was the last day of filming. But
so with the window, what I assume they did, this is my guess, is that all of it is real, and they have a big tarp, and they're projecting the footage of the spider onto a big tarp.
Yeah,
that's my guess with the window.
Oh, see, and that's just like the early ingenuity of like how are we gonna make this work, and it's just really really clever,
it's so charming.
And, so let's get right into it. The film opens.
We've got Rick and Morty, our 2 cute couple.
Yeah, so the film opens with our heroes, and you know it's going to be a good movie because I don't know if you caught this, but when it says starring, it spells it spells starring with 3 R's. So we're in for a great time. It was
also written by Ed Kimmer, which I read as Ed Kemper, famous serial killer, and I was like, excuse me, what?
Yeah.
Not Ed Kemper, it's Ed Kimmer.
But we meet our heroes. We meet Mike and Carol.
Mike
is a really he is either a great guy or just incredibly emotionally abusive, and he
Completely unclear.
He takes turns on who he's gonna be scene to scene. And then we also meet Carol, who has the thickest transatlantic accent I have ever heard. And
Sure.
yeah, so we meet Mike and Carol after a man mysteriously dies in the opening shot of the movie, which is later revealed to be Carol's dad.
Now, I have some questions for you.
Yes.
Because in the opening shot of the movie, Carol's dad is driving down the street and then is sort of sprayed with blood.
Yeah.
Now, let's ignore the fact that he has a window shield for 1 second. What do you think happened to him? Because on first blush, I thought, oh, he hit something. Because I didn't know he was getting eaten by the spider, but like, was that the spider biting? What was happening?
What happens is Carol and Mike they go investigate and there is this spider web in the middle of the road, which made it seem like the spider had made some sort of Looney Tunes style like strung it between two trees so a car would smash into it.
Absolutely.
But when I first saw it upon first blush, I thought the spider was like spraying it with venom or something. That was kind of my interpretation of events.
Audience, maybe also watch the movie. I don't know how this segment is going to go if you guys haven't seen the movie, but like, watch the movie. It's like, honestly, the biggest praise is the movie's like 110 minutes. Like, or I'm sorry, the movie's like 70 minutes. It's like an hour and 10 minutes. Just go watch it.
So
it's really good.
Yeah, it's but just a couple of things I definitely wanted to point out. Mike and Carol borrow a car from a man named, or from one of their classmates named Joe. And there's a sequence where like they're passing notes to each other in class, and they say like, "I'm going to borrow Joe's car." And then he taps on Joe's shoulder, and Joe turns around, and he is a grown ass man. Like he is for sure in his mid 40s. Like
we're gonna get to the Hugo scene, but like every one of those characters,
he is like, "How do you do, kid?" Like there is no, it is not like he is a man like struggling to play a teenager. It is like when you see him, you're like, oh, you're a man. Like I thought he was a teacher. I thought he was like a TA or something.
There were a lot of actors who I'm like, the Hugo scene, I was like, there are a lot of actors here. I'm like, you're not even pretending to be in high school. Like
absolutely not.
At all are you in high school?
Yeah, so they go, when they borrow Joe's car, they go into this cave. They find this cave, which actually has incredibly impressive and clever set design, as you talked about before with the cave design. Really, really clever. They find two skeletons. They spend absolutely no time grappling with the consequences of that. They don't give a shit about that. Fuck about these two skeletons. They keep going. They fall into a spider web, and then we meet the spider who, as you said earlier, is screaming. Like they put in a sound effect of it's a roar / scream, and it is something.
I mean, in the subtitles it says spider screaming, and it's like, yeah, I guess you're right. I guess he is. That's weird that he's doing that. Yeah.
So the spider screams at them, they run away, and then we meet actually two more heroes. We meet this sheriff who is spending his time in a 1950s horror movie, not giving one damn about what the kids have just said, thinking that they made up a giant spider. Like he's like the kids call him traumatized. And like, we found my dead dad. Like,
because his dad or her dad has had all of the moisture sucked from his body. Like, died in a truly traumatizing and horrific way for his daughter to find.
Yeah. So yeah, and mind you, when the daughter,
women and their emotions,
dude. So speaking of that, when the daughter is like, there's a sequence later on where the daughter is crying in her room, and the mom just pops up and goes like, don't cry, sweetheart.
I was surprised she was not more traumatized.
She's just like, my dad is dead. Like,
your husband's a mummy now.
And like they make a lot of allusions to like maybe he was like a shitty dude. I don't know, but like no, but they're like, because whenever Mike and Carol are having their first conversation, Carol is like, my dad didn't come home last night, and he was like, yeah, that sounds like your drunk ass dad, or just like, basically just no. He says that sounds like your dad, and then Carol's like, hey man, don't be a dick. Like, my dad's missing. And then he's like the way that Mike is talking about him seems like, yeah, your dad's a fucking alcoholic. He's not showing up. You know, that's just his whole deal.
The way I took it was there were several scenes where I thought, man, the 50s fucking rocked. And what a cool time.
Oh, no, they did rock. When we get to the Hugo scene.
Well, that shit was so cool. But no, where he was like, they were literally just like, yeah, I don't know. He was in the other town over trying to buy a gift for your birthday. He probably ran into his buddies and he's just hanging out. And I was like, what? That shit just like, that's how things used to be, where you could just like, I don't know. I met my friends. I'm just not going to come home, and really no one's worried about it. And then they were like, or maybe he got a flat tire and he's just in a garage, like an auto garage, and he's just, you know, getting his car fixed. And it's like, and again, she says like, well, no, if he was there, he would have at least called my mom, and like, fair enough. But
yeah.
The fact that they like set up this whole world where like you could just be gone for days and nobody's sweating it at all. Whereas like in the modern era, this isn't my life, but like the feeling is that, and maybe I'm just bullshitting because this isn't my life, but like the feeling is that like if you're out of pocket for 30 minutes, like people are like, oh, did you get murdered? Whereas in this movie, they're just like, yeah, he's probably hanging out with his buddies at a bar for 2 days. And they're like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, and like, so dad gets all the juices sucked out of him. The mom is just,
so he's a mummy.
Yeah, he's a mummy. The mom is literally like, well, honey, your dad's dead, but you got to do your homework. And that's like her only scene is her just being like, that's life, you know. And then she's like when I say crying, she's kind of like like just kind of like quietly sobbing. And the mom is just like, listen, I loved him too, but he got eaten by a giant spider. What are you gonna do?
I was born in the Great Depression.
So we meet the sheriff, who, you know, is like women in their emotions. They made up this spider, and then we meet this absolute Chad,
the coolest character,
the Giga Chad professor. His name is Professor. His name is Professor Kingman. He is top 0.001% of all men.
He stands up straight in every photograph.
He stands up straight in every photo. He's not lean once. His friend gets knocked down by a spider at one point, and he hasn't even been down to pick him up. He is standing straight the whole time. So this professor has an answer for everything, and immediately believes the kids. Like, immediately.
Yeah, he's like, that sounds real.
Yeah, immediately believes the kids, and then he's the one that when they go, they get the whole town together, presumably, to go find the spider. And then he's like, "All right, we're walking up in here. We're getting the exterminator. We're gonna have."
Well, he's the one that says, "Bring the DDT."
Yeah, we're gonna have this mixed with this. We're gonna there is not a shadow of a doubt in his mind. He is like, when we walk in there, we're gonna have to throw hands with the spider.
Well, because so that was the thing. They bring the exterminator, and the sheriff is just like, we don't need an exterminator. We're gonna find I'm doing air quotes, gonna find a spider. And but he's like, no, bring the exterminator. And the exterminator shows up, and he's got this big like truck full of DDT, which is like a pesticide. And the guy goes, what mix should I have? Like, what's the mix between, I don't know, whatever and whatever for potency? And he's like, well, it's a spider. And he's like, okay, for a spider, I would normally do like 1 out of every million parts. And he's like, oh, okay, make it 50. Like, make it 50 times, because this dude 100% with no concrete proof, 100% believes there is a giant spider. And later on makes an incredibly good point that never goes back to it. And a modern movie, while I love this film, a modern movie would have dealt with this, where he's like, we need to find out why the fuck this spider got so big, and they never like go back and deal with it. Where he's like,
yeah.
Because at one point they, as we'll find out, they believe they've killed the spider, but he's still like, no, we need to figure out what in that cave made the spider so big, and there's definitely more spiders.
Yeah.
But anyway, they go to the cave.
They go to the cave. I just want to mention one thing, and that is they go to the cave. They find the spider. Shit gets wild. But before that, there's a sequence. The professor is like, the sheriff is like, there's no spider, yada yada yada, and he's saying it in a very belittling tone. But he's saying what we should all believe, which is like, there's probably not going to be a giant spider in here.
Which, to be fair, I also wouldn't believe there's a giant spider.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, he's like, they're putting him off as like this podunk stupid sheriff, and it's just like, hey man, in every other time you're right. Every other time you think there's a giant spider, you're 100% right.
If some kids came up to me and said they found a giant spider, I'd be like, oh, they're smoking marijuana cigarettes and they're you know, just insane, and like, I'm not gonna fucking bring a gun down to this cave.
Yeah. But he does bring a gun, and he shoots a bat. Do you remember that?
Okay, the shooting the bat part was very weird. Because
like the professor says like, he's already gathering evidence to prove that this spider exists when they go in the cave, because he says like, look around, you don't see any like wildlife, you don't see like any this and this and this. That's probably because there's a giant spider in here eating them. Like, there could be a million other reasons, but he's like, it's because of the giant spider. And then a bat flies kind of in frame, and the sheriff is like, it's time to smoke this bat. And then he shoots it.
I feel like he shoots multiple shots, right? Like,
he does.
He doesn't get on the first try. He keeps shooting at this bat.
But to his credit, in a dark cave, he hits the bat.
He does. And what does he say?
He says like, now are there like, what now, dummy? And then the teenagers wander away, and they're going to look for the spider by themselves. And then it cuts back to the sheriff and the professor and the whole town. And then he's like kicking dirt, and he goes, there, I buried it, happy. And it goes what? Did you just have had to bury this bat?
Fucking bat. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
That's when I knew this movie. That is like, in that moment, I was like, I totally reframed it, because I thought I was watching a monster movie. When that happened, I was like, this is a comedy. Like, there is no chance that they did this like unintentionally. Like, this is a setup punchline funny joke.
It is funny. And also the thing is, like, okay, so for me, a big moment was the first time that Carol and Mike walked into the cave. I thought, like, man, I yearn for the days when movie setups were just so clean and straightforward. Like, I think what I like about this series, and I would like about these movies, is they have no pretension, and they are just so straightforward. It's
like they go in a cave, look for the dead. Like, they, like in like, you know, more,
I know why they're there. I know what they're doing. There's not like a bunch of dumb subtext.
And there is one sequence that sets them up, and you like, it's like, they're like,
I gotta find my dad. I gotta
find my dad. You're my jackass boyfriend. Let's go. And like, this is the sheriff. This is the professor. And this is Hugo. Let's get it.
Well, it's like a more modern example, because I'm not trying to be like a, you know, make America good movies again or whatever. But like things were better in the past kind of thing. But you think of a movie like When Harry Met Sally, where it's like, first 5 minutes, it's Harry, he meets Sally. They're like, we got to go on a road trip. Boom, we're moving. And it's like, oh, cool. All right, I understand the film. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even though there's more going on in that movie, like, just very simple, straightforward movie. I don't know. I really liked it a lot.
If you, and like, kind of, if you're already going to a movie, you don't really need to be explained your way through. It's like, yeah, I got it. I know. Like, I'm watching a movie.
And I think that was the one when they walked into the cave. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna like this. Anyway, so they bury the bat, which is very funny.
Yeah, so they bury the bat. They find the spider. They presumably kill the spider with...
The spider screams.
The spider screams. The professor says something also funny, which is something that you would... It was a weird thing to know, which was like, we got to go in there as pesticides. You can't shoot it because it only has so many... Like...
It's
the way
vertebrae.
He said it was like his word for that. It was like something like, you can shoot a spider like 1,000 times, but like it only has so many like areas of weakness, and I was like,
something about the anatomy.
I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah, if I
Professor
shoot it in the leg, I think the leg's gonna have a hard time moving.
Yeah.
He said that. And I just took it at face value that was true.
Yeah, so they don't shoot the spider. That's for damn sure. They kill the spider. The spider kills one of their guys. They bring it back to the school. The spider.
They bring it back to the
school. Its ass is upside. It is in the school. It is in like an auditorium.
No other place you could have moved.
Like, yeah. So I guess it's big enough. How they got it through the door is it doesn't even matter anymore.
Truck.
Yeah. So they brought it to the school to study it because Professor once again really wants to know how big it got or why it got so big, which is a great question.
For reference, because you all, assuming the three of you that haven't seen the movie, the spider is about the size of like 2 houses. It's bigger than a house. It's probably like its area that it takes up. Its size
fluctuates all the time.
That's true, but okay. So in my head canon, where I averaged it out was like if it was standing up straight, its furthest legs would be on the edges of 2 suburban houses, right? So it's like the size of 2 houses. It's taller than that, but that's about how big it is. So yes, great question how they got it through the door, but yada yada.
Yeah, but whatever. Who cares?
It's wild they took it to the school, but they take
it to the school. Grown ass man Joe. They have to practice their swing band or whatever.
Oh wait, you're missing a scene.
Oh, I'm missing a scene.
Well, right before that, they're sitting in there and they're like, we got to take it to the university to study.
Oh, right.
And then it has like what they call a muscle contraction because someone's standing there and it twitches and hits the guy in the face.
Yeah. So it knocks this dude down, and the professor, who has been 100% on the side of the spider, like on like this is a real spider, is immediately dismissive of this dude that gets his clock cleaned. Like he gets absolutely
knocked straight down by the spider.
He gets knocked straight down, and then the professor is like, "Oh, that's just a muscle contraction." It's like, well, first off, brother, like this spider's been dead for over a day. I don't think we're muscle contracting anymore. And then like that guy, he gets never see him again. He gets out. He's doing fine.
Yeah, whatever.
So he
dies of black lung or something.
Yeah, but we got to get to the main event, which
the best scene in the movie.
So Joe and his grown ass adult friends
who are all definitely 40 or 50.
Yeah, need to get into the auditorium where the spider is being held. And there's only one man with the key, and that man is Hugo.
Now, from what I understand, and I had to watch it more than once because I was a little confused what they were doing, they're the band for the school dance?
Yeah, something like that.
People are already practicing swing dancing in the basketball gym or something. Is that what I understand? I mean,
yeah.
The important thing is the dialogue, which sounds like an SNL skit of the 50s, but they're not joking.
Yeah, they're a band that they basically all you need to know is they're a band that needs to practice. There's a spider in the way, but they don't really care at all
for some reason.
And they say like we need to get Hugo, and they say like Hugo, and then it cuts to like as you would think like an SNL type. Like he opens a door and says, "Who's calling Hugo?" And Hugo is this old man who is like a janitor or like the
I think he's a janitor,
like the groundskeeper of the school. And it is this old man talking to these old men about why they need to why they need to get into the auditorium to practice the school dance. And Joe has this line that is so iconic. He says something like, like Hugo's like, you can't go in there. There's a spider in there. You can't go in there.
There's a giant fucking spider, you moron.
There's a giant fucking spider in there. You can't go in there.
It's the size of 2 houses. What the fuck is wrong with you?
What do you want to do in there? There is no God. There is only spider. There is no dance. Why you are concerning yourselves with the wrong things.
God is real and he hates us.
He created a giant spider to kill us.
Yeah.
So and then Joe says in this voice, he goes like, "Oh, come on, mister. We're just little kids." And it's so uncomfortable.
They're so old.
And
before that, they're like literally calling each other jive turkeys. They're not literally calling each other jive turkeys, but like the way they're talking is like, you gotta get down to the sock hop and do the hoozy-doozy.
It's so weird.
The way they talk is so crazy.
Yeah. We've been talking about this movie for too long. They get in there. It's a band. At one point, they say a line where Joe says, like, play loud enough to wake the dead. And it's like, all right, this... Okay. We already knew, but yeah, the spider's alive. So they wake up the spider. The spider fucking murks Hugo.
Hugo's just doing his best.
Hugo's doing his best. The spider murks him, kills him in cold blood. The spider is just kind of... It's like it is as if it is the most terrifying thing in the world. But as we know, if there ever was a giant tarantula, it would be more confusing than anything else. Like, if I saw a giant tarantula like in my city, I think everybody would kind of be like, "Whoa, what the hell? Like what do we do?" But they're running, they're screaming, and this spider is like out for blood. Like it is killing people left and right. But it's like it's staged in this way of the spider just kind of walking around. But yeah, so this spider is terrifying. The professor, like at one point, the spider goes and attacks the professor's home, and he has a baby. And then the professor drives and rams his fucking car into the back of the spider, and the spider
fucking works.
And the spider chases him. The spider goes back to the cave. Oh, and by the way, meanwhile, this was
the only part that I hated. This is the only part where I was not happy with
the two lovebirds. They have to go back in the cave because she dropped the necklace that her dad got for her. It's like
whatever.
Yeah, dude. Whatever, really. And so they go back to the cave. The spider goes back to the cave, and then there's like this
because they chase it out. Because they chase it out of the town and go. Okay. Yeah, also, to fucking Mike being so shitty. It's like a bracelet her dad gave her. Her dad, who's now a mummy and died yesterday. Died yesterday from a giant aberration and affront to God. Like, I don't understand how these people, with all these films, I don't understand how everyone's not insane. But anyway, they found out God was dead and there was a giant, or God is real and he's a giant spider. And they're
he is a giant spider soldier
who wants to kill them.
I truly thought there were so many moments when I thought that Mike was just going to be like, "Come on, baby," and start to try to kiss her or something. Because I was just like, I was like, "You're being such a clown."
So what he says is, it's like she's looking for this, which admittedly it is stupid to go back in this spider cave to look for your fucking bracelet. But he looks at her and goes, "Come on, baby, I can buy you another one." Like, no, it's kind of because it's from her mummified dad. It's not like the literal bracelet, Mike.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'll buy you another one." It's like, shut the fuck up, Mike. But anyway, Mike survives the film.
Yeah, so they get into this cave, and there's this very long sequence where they're running around. They get lost in the cave. They find another skeleton. This skeleton died. This skeleton died of being lost.
Sure.
They once again spend no time grappling with that.
They don't care at all.
They don't give a shit. They see the skeleton and they're like, "Ah!" And then Joe's like, "We're gonna die." No, Mike is like, "We're gonna die in here probably." "Oh, I have a chocolate bar." And then they eat this chocolate bar, and it's just it's like, guys. So the spider obviously goes in the cave.
We're tough on you all.
Yeah, the town blows up the entrance to the spiders, like the cave, and then they're stuck in there for a while. and then they have to dig their way through the mountain.
They have to dig down.
Which is with just two muscular boys, by the way. Two muscular boys are doing this whole job. Yeah. So they dig their way out. The professor is like, "Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna zap this bitch," and then they get a wire, like a telephone wire. They bring it into the cave. This is where things get a little confusing for me. The spider has the spider has the two lovebirds cornered, and then like using some sort of like it looks like a Nikola Tesla like experiment where they each have these like lightning rod looking things, and they shoot electricity at the spider, and then the spider dies, maybe, presumably, who knows. Look out for the sequel.
The spider will return in Spider 2.
And all in all, I gave it 4 out of 5 spiders.
I would say definitely 4 out of 5 spiders. I wish there were 4 spider eggs, but whatever.
Yeah. I was waiting for a scene where, because it ends on a scene of the dead spider. I was thinking that it was gonna like twitch or something, and it was like, eggs, oh right, no, totally. Yeah. But
I think that is a modern. I think that's a evolution of the form. One other thing I will say is that well, first I'll forget what I was going to say, and then I'll zibba zabba for a minute until I remember.
Okay.
Nope, I sure won't remember. Okay. Anyway,
but definitely go watch it. It is really fun. It is like definitely tongue in cheek in a lot of really fun ways. Did you remember what you were going to say?
I remember what I was going to say. Pro tip for watching any horror movie, and most movies in general, but any horror movie, if there is a classroom scene, open your film. That is how they're going to kill the monster.
Oh, did he say something about electricity?
If you remember.
Oh, I don't.
This is a trope in film because you always forget. Everyone always forgets. This is a trope in film. The opening scene to this movie is the professor explaining how if you take 2 electrodes, the first shot is 2 electrodes and an electrical beam going between the 2 electrodes like a Nikola Tesla machine. That is literally how the film opens.
Man.
And he's explaining how the electrodes work, and I said out loud to the TV, oh, that's how they're going to kill the spider. They're going to zap it.
And then your wife from a separate room said, "Did you say something?" And then you were like, no.
To be fair, she was out of town when I watched this movie. So I was like, oh, you're going out of town for the night. I'll watch the weird fucking spider movie. So no, she was not here for this. But if you're watching a film and a horror film and it opens in a classroom, whatever they're talking about, that is how they beat the monster.
Man, jeez Louise, that professor is such an absolute Chad. He
fucking rocks, dude. He
was meant for that situation. Like, he was probably waiting his entire life to be like the scientist that solved that problem.
If it was a modern film, he would be like a red-pilled weirdo, right?
Yeah.
The spiders are gonna kill us.
Sure. Or people wouldn't believe him because that's how scientists are treated, where he's like running around, like. But yeah, no, the town believed him. Like every single person did exactly what he said. Yeah. There is no one else that I think I'd rather want in that situation.
No,
well, I mean, not. Unless there was someone who was like really good at martial arts and like really good at like just being a good, strong, good kissing boy. I think the only other person that I would like in this situation would be a secret man.
It's my favorite episode we've ever done. This
everyone.
Combo is so good.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Zach's Secret Book Club, where we talk about the uncensored story of the American hero Frank Dux. And Frank Dux, who, as we all know, is the subject of the movie Bloodsport, and who is a real life / maybe not real life secret agent who is in the middle.
Absolutely not. Your Honor, absolutely not a real life secret agent.
And
I don't want to go to jail for that. So like parody or whatever the fuck I have to say, but like not a secret agent at all.
But if you remember, when last we left our hero, our secret agent, Frank Dux, the secret man, is hot on the trail of a suspicious figure named Fish, and more importantly, the very mysterious substance that is known as Delphi-9. The reason I paused there is because I don't even know what Delphi-9 is anymore in accordance with this book.
It's a real thing that is a poison, but in this context, it's a form of Russian anthrax?
It is a form of Russian anthrax, but I think that maybe that was a mislead because of some of the things we'll talk about in the chapter today.
Okay, I have one clarification.
Yes.
While you said he's looking for fish, which we know from chapter 1, still to this point, we have
not met
the
Fish
character
yet.
as I would now like to call the present Frank does not know. Frank does not know.
We are still we're over 100 pages in. We are still in the midst of a flashback from the opening.
Glad we started the plot at least.
Yeah, from the opening sequence. So Frank is now looking for Delphi-9, and where else do you go to look for Delphi-9 but
Moscow,
Milan?
Fuck.
So this chapter,
there's going to be some kissing in this one for sure.
No, there's not any kissing in this chapter.
Damn
it's actually this chapter. So if you think of every other chapter like a James Bond movie, think of this one as an Ocean's 11 movie, but it's just the part where they're getting the team together, where they're getting the band together.
There's a team?
There's not a team, which is what makes this even more infuriating. So we go to Milan, and as anybody knows, Milan is where you, quote, find the big movers in the underworld politics world.
This is that scene from Star Wars where they go to the gambling planet.
I literally wrote down this whole chapter is the Mos Eisley Cantina scene.
Oh, I meant the other Star Wars, but sure, yeah.
No, so like he's looking for all the big movers and shakers, and you first have to go to Milan. Specifically, you have to go to Franco's bar, which doesn't appear in any of the tourist maps, but it is known to the people that go there for it's like
all the bars in the world. You had to walk.
When there's an iceberg. you know about the deep web.
I'm aware of the iceberg and the deep web.
Every single person goes to the iceberg sites, but underneath it is an even bigger world.
This is Ray's. This is Casablanca Ray's. This is all the bars in the world. You had to walk into mine.
No, I think this is John Wick. I think this is
all right. John Wick. It's better if it's John Wick. Okay.
So like every single person, so he goes in this bar. It's called Franco's Bar, and he's looking for information on Delphi-9.
You know what's funny about Franco's Bar?
Mm-hmm.
It's made. It's not real, right?
Yeah. No, not only is it not real, and I'm
Frank. Isn't that funny?
So it's called Franco's Bar, and there's a really puzzling thing that I had to reread through. So when he first walks in, he meets a man named Mr. Magus, and Mr. Magus is a he is a Serbian. He is a Serbian ex-boxer who lost a kidney in a knife fight, but still remains boxing to this day because this book is full of badasses, and every badass has to be the biggest bad one. But he is drinking a glass of milk when he walks in because
gross.
This is funny. So Frank walks in, and Mr.
Is Pope with him?
No, he's going on his own, which I also thought the same thing.
Where the fuck is Pope? We set up Pope as his whole character.
The reason why Pope is not in this is because Frank's a bit, he plays both sides of the coin. You know what I mean? So he plays both sides of the coin, where Pope, Pope can't go to all these underground places. Hell.
From what I understand of Pope's characterization, is he can only go to underground places. That's why his nickname's Pope, because it's ironic, right?
Yeah. Well,
he can only go to underground places.
He's not here. But as you well know, the moment Frank walks in this place, people know who he is because because
whatever.
because Frank's a big bad boy, and when he goes into the underground bar world, people are like, Frank, where you been? Actually, they call him Franco, and this is called Franco's Bar, which was kind of puzzling.
Damn it, Frank.
Yeah, so
you're such a frustrating author.
So he is a frustrating author because he sits with Magus, and there is this whole sequence where it talks about how tough he is, right? So there is this whole sequence talks about
what else are we talking about?
How he lost his liver in a fight, da-da-da-da-da. This is Magus. And it says, he had seen me fight under circumstances in which savagery was necessary for survival. I mystify him. He couldn't understand why, with all my abilities, I didn't actively join the underground world and rise to the top.
I hope these two crazy kids work it out. Okay.
It's like,
fine.
So even when he's in the introduction of someone else that is like as tough as him, he has to be like, he's perplexed by me.
This person's character is how much they think I'm cool.
Yeah. So honestly,
Wicked.
this whole chapter is kind of like, it goes through, it's a mix of the Mos Eisley Cantina scene in Star Wars and Billy Joel's Piano Man. Like, it is this is like this whole sequence where he just like runs through all these people, and it's like, that guy, he's a demolitions expert. That guy, he sells arms to both sides of conflicts. Like, this guy, he's a master thief. This guy's a pickpocket, and it's going
Ocean's
through
11,
it's going through all these things. But in this as I said, in this very weird Piano Man type setting, it also like it jumps kind of it jumps honestly maybe in a stroke of brilliance, kind of Slaughterhouse-5 style. And it goes, and as he's explaining them, he also explains how they die later. So we're like meeting
Frank
all
Dux
of
is
these.
stuck in time. I see. Okay.
We're like meeting all of these characters, and then it's just like, but he was blown to bits in a mafia something. Like, it is, each of them meets a very horrible fate, and it's just him running through this list of people. And a couple of them that there's one guy named I think it's Rade. I've just been calling him Raid in my head because that might that's like so Raid
Shadow Legends,
it's Raid Shadow. Don't unless you're paying us,
unless you want to give us a fucking check, we are not going to talk about your stupid fucking game.
So Raid, he is an arms dealer. He is it says he is a handsome rogue, so he's building his D&D character.
Got it.
And he also has a propensity for gambling at the casino. So he's a James Bond
+2
villain.
in dexterity.
So Raid is this guy they bring up a few times. So I'm only bringing him up now because I think he's probably going to come up later, in that he's this big arms dealer, and so he's this James Bond villain type guy where he basically is like, he is like, he gambles and he sells weapons and whatever. He's a bad dude.
Who cares? He sounds cool, but yeah.
So there is this one sequence here that I kind of got a little lost on, which was apparently...
Sorry, I have to go back to something.
Yes.
This really just dawned on me how insane this is. So this is a made-up bar. This is a fake scene.
This is a made-up bar. This is a fake scene, and he's going through.
Didn't happen.
Well, but as we both know, Frank cannot help himself but to insert things that are like
petty grievances.
Like, this is true. This happened, and he goes on this whole thing to talk about this guy named Voyo, and he does this whole thing where Voyo is this really big time, big bad fighting guy who was, he once took on an entire soccer team of anti-Serbian Slavs, whatever the fuck that means.
What the I mean, I know what that means, but what are you talking about?
But then it moves over to saying that it says that Voyo is Sylvester Stallone's bodyguard, and I looked it up, and it's true. There's a guy named Voyo who was Sylvester Stallone's bodyguard, and he is inventing a backstory for someone else because he says that Voyo is in this bar.
This is like Bill Casey going, I have no idea who this man is. Like Bill Casey, real man, is like, I do not know who Frank Dux is at all.
He presents this thing of like, these are all the roughest dudes. These are all the roughest dudes in the world. Oh, there's Voyo. He's like a cool guy. And he was like, Voyo would later on go to be Frank Sinatra's bodyguard. And it's just
not
like
Frank Sinatra.
Not Frank Sinatra. Frank Sinatra, Sylvester Stallone. Jeez Louise.
So wait. Here's my question about the Frank thing. So, sorry, it's a made-up bar. This didn't happen. It's
a made-up bar. It didn't happen. None of these conversations are happening.
Of course not. Frank, the author, had two thoughts.
Yeah.
And I understand this was not a highly edited book, at least I don't believe, just based on how fucking insane it is. Frank was like, I want the bar to be called Franco's.
Yeah.
And I want my nickname at the bar to be Franco.
Yep.
But I do not own this bar.
Yeah,
what
that's
a weird thing to do.
Yeah, no, I had to go back and read that a few times because I was genuinely like, what that like? Do you own this place? And then he also goes on to say he also goes on to say there's like this sequence where he's like he genuinely is like Billy Joel I frequent this place. Like every time I'm in Italy, I frequent this place. And it's just like, brother, do you not have a studio? Do you not run a martial arts studio? Like either you do or either you do or you don't. Like are you working on are you working on movies? Are you flying to and from Italy to meet at this bar to find the movers and shakers in the underground world?
Like you could call it Giano's, you call it anything, but don't call it your own. Well, I think the cherry on top is like, okay, one, it's called Franco's and his name's Frank. But the cherry on top is that then when he walks into the bar, people call him Franco, but just to be clear, he's not the Franco. There's a second Franco, and I don't, it's so, because it's made up, it's fake, so it's like,
but they go through and they do a bunch of other things where like, he brings up the Gambino crime family. He brings up like John Gotti and like stuff like that. But he's like saying it as if it's like, yeah, I know these guys. That guy does this. That guy does this.
Gary Cooper. What happened?
Yeah,
to Gary
it's
Cooper?
A very
why are people?
Yeah, it's a very strange sequence. So they leave Franco's and they go and get dinner. And his friend Magus, he says that basically what you need to know from this chapter is that everybody is like, everybody's teaming up. Like there are, the way he says it, I'm not making this up. The way he says it is there are no more rogue agents. And I think that is like, I was so surprised that Frank didn't be like, there's at least one rogue agent.
Yeah, except me.
Maybe it's me.
The secret man.
So everyone's getting together, like the Yakuza. He mentions every single mafia, like the mafia, the Yakuza, the Serbs.
For what?
Like
Why are they getting together?
Sam, no spoilies.
Okay, fine.
So all of them are like
out of order,
they're like basically what he's saying is that like there's some like his friend is like something's going on, like all of these organized crime people. All these organized crime people, they're in Milan. And he was like, what about the Russians? He was like, the Russians are here too. And he was like, okay, I'm going to go follow up on that. And he says goodbye to his friend. And obviously, because the way this chapter has been written,
the lady.
His friend dies. His friend dies very tragic. His friend dies very tragically, but not there. His friend dies tragically later. Like he was like, okay, and that was the last time I saw Magus. Like it turns out like this and this and this happened, and like he's basically doing the same thing he's been doing with all the other people, which admittedly is a nice dovetail to like kind of say goodbye to his friend. He's done it he's done it with every single other person at the bar, and so as I was reading it, I was like, this dude he's talking to is dead. Like there isn't like, yeah.
While I do, I have not read a page of this book. I will say this motif, Frank. I know we're in a courtroom and you're listening to this. This motif is good. That's a good bit for a chapter. Good job. That one's good. It's made up and it's fake. Parody, whatever. But like,
it's
It's good.
So basically he leaves there and I think it's to get more intel. He goes to this place called Piper's Club, also fucking made up. And
of course.
He orders he orders he orders a like a pasta, and the way he writes it is he said, I ordered it with red pepper flakes because it was hot and aroused my taste buds. And that is in between him talking about the mercenaries that are in this Piper's Club he's at. Because when he goes to their place, there's like a bunch of movers and shakers. Piper's Club is a bunch of mercenaries, but in between him talking about mercenaries, he's talking about how his taste buds were aroused by red hot pepper flakes.
Very weird. Very weird thing to do, Frank.
It's cool. Basically, so the chapter is coming to a close, but there is one thing. There's two more things I wanted to point out to you.
Okay.
One is he learns that people sell drugs in Milan.
You don't say.
By putting the, like, you know how there's like drop locations?
Sure.
The drop locations in this universe that Frank is making up is in dead cats that are on the road.
The fuck up, Zach.
So he says that they put the cocaine in dead alley cats because only the people that know would bother to pick them up. So they kill cats.
Okay, give me a minute.
Stuff cocaine and money into them, and that is how they elude the police.
I'm genuinely. There's a lot of weird shit in this book. I'm genuinely speechless. Let's just keep moving. Maybe I'll rally and I'll make fun of the next thing. But like,
yeah,
woof. Okay.
Yeah, that one's pretty bad.
That's pretty. I'm
speechless.
Okay.
Pretty weird,
okay,
Frank.
Fine. Whatever.
But
sure.
So we move on from there, and he's now contemplating. He's like, where is Delphi 9? Where is Delphi 9? And he begins to kind of contemplate his own, as is tradition with this book, he's kind of contemplating his own existence and like why it is that he has been called on this case, why Bill Casey is called on this case. But I know I'm smarter now after having read this enough to know that when Frank is kind of pondering his own existence, he is simply volleying himself up to say something weird about how he's like the only man that can do it, or he's like the biggest, strongest, toughest. So the way that he kind of gets around this is he says this, and I'm just going to read this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any highlighted passages so far, by the way?
No highlighted passages. And I think that this one here, there's like the one that I'm about to read, I think is like, of all the things that would be highlighted, I think that this one would be. I'm starting to get suspicious that the person that had this book before me did not finish it. I have no idea why. I have no idea why. But
anyway, all right.
Some people claim that there are three kinds of great loves: the archetypal love of one's dreams, the love we attain, and the love that is formed between blending of the first two. There exists three broad types of clandestine spies. And then he goes on to explain the intelligence spies, the counterintelligence spies, and the rogue spies. So he starts this thing off by saying, like, there are three loves. There's the one of your dreams. There's the one you attain. And then there's the one that you make by blending the first two. And he says this all to say, and you know what? That's a lot like being a spy. There's three types of spies. There's the intelligence spy, there's the counterintelligence spy, and there's the rogue, the one that blends the two of them and becomes the ultimate spy who plays both sides of the field because they don't sign any oaths unless it's an oath to themselves.
No, wait, slow down, because the implication that the rogue spy plays both sides would mean that the counterintelligence spy is giving bad information to their boss. No, right? Because like the intelligence spy is gathering information.
So the intelligence spy, they gather from the counterintelligence.
Yes, but no, follow through that. What do those three things do? The intelligence spy gathers information from the bad guys.
It says here, the second category, counterintelligence, requires the patience of a saint and a highly analytical ability to index and cross-reference thousands of tidbits of information that might form the pieces of a complex puzzle.
how is it? That sounds like intelligence, and then counterintelligence would be giving fake information.
Wouldn't counterintelligence be like the imitation game where you're trying to crack the other person's code?
Oh, I see. So intelligence. Then what's intelligence?
It's gathering information. The counterintelligence.
How is that different than the imitation game?
Well, counterintelligence is trying to figure out their intelligence.
What is intelligence then?
Intelligence is you gathering stuff like about.
You're saying the same thing twice.
No, I'm not saying the same thing twice. We hosted a damn puzzle podcast. Like it's.
I know, but both of you're okay. In my impression,
like it's you gather information about them, and meanwhile they're gathering information about you. And counterintelligence is trying to crack their codes, trying to find out what they know about you.
Right, but that's not what what the imitation game was. What they were trying to figure out was where the submarines were going. They were trying to gather information about them.
But they did it by cracking their code, right?
Sure, which would be intelligence. Gathering information about them.
Maybe it's the people that write the puzzles. Basically,
I just don't understand what
you're getting lost in the song. Basically, all you need to know is that Frank is a rogue. He's a rogue, man. Okay, and he plays both sides of the field. He is both he is both amazing at gathering intelligence, and also he's great at just being super analytical and smart.
I'm really excited for in this book when he spends about what seems like 80% of the word count talking about how he like has no oaths and is just sort of on no one's team, and he will never for 1 second betray the United States for one word. Like, I'm really excited for him. Right? That's the implication of him being a rogue, right?
There is a moment, because like he does have all these connections to the underground world. I mean, that's real. That's one of the things about this chapter that I think are real.
It's the Kumite,
He has all these connections to the underground world, and he's like truly there gathering information about Delphi 9. Like, at no point does he say, like, hey, I got this clown, Bill Casey, who hired me to do this, but I'm actually playing both sides. He's not. He's definitively playing one side.
That's the thing, is that he spends all this time talking about how he isn't on one side or the other. But
it's and for what? And there is so many times where like the book kind of wrestles with this, like, and for what? Like, why are you doing this? Like, you don't really even seem to care. Like,
we talked about this last episode, where like I don't understand why I know why the author Frank is making this up. I don't understand why the character Frank parody, whatever. I don't understand why the character Frank is doing this. Like, I don't get why he's a part of this mission at all.
Yeah.
And like, I don't remember why Bill Casey knows who he is. I guess it's the Kumite. I
think it's just because, as we know, they're from the one thing where.
When does he go to kissing school? Is that after he
goes into kissing school? I remember it definitively in the 3rd chapter. But I don't know exactly. That. But I don't know when that is. I do not know when that is. Like,
who sends him to kissing school? Is I guess what I'm asking. Is it Bill Casey?
Bill Casey is like, hey, listen.
Like, after he goes to St. Louis, he's like, this would have been easier.
You need to get better at kissing. Maybe it's like his old sensei like is like, hey, you're being really weird, you're not Japanese, and you need to go to kissing school and get some skills, you dummy.
Frank, you're being so weird with your electrical cord and your griddle or whatever. You're being so weird.
But yeah, this one is basically just like
that's good.
Yet another filler chapter of him just talking about how many people he knows and how cool he is. But we have a plot and we're following it. So
we're doing it.
Yeah. So next time we catch up with our hero, we will be hot on the trail of Fish and Delphi 9.
Okay, I just want to summarize real quick before we end the segment. Where we are in the story is there were some murders in St. Louis with a big heavy gun.
Oh my gosh! I forgot to mention one of the biggest things.
Okay.
So yeah, basically the main thing he's trying to find is what Delphi 9 is, which is like, it was this chemical attack in Russia that actually real life happened, real life tragedy that Frank is using.
But was not the actual chemical Delphi 9. It was a different.
It was anthrax. But Frank in this chapter says that this was a cover up, that the anthrax attack. He is doing revisionist history and saying that this thing that happened was because Delphi 9 is not the anthrax. Delphi 9 is whatever they released the anthrax to try to protect.
What?
Something else was going on in that base, and according to Franklin, they wanted to keep it secret. They wanted to keep it secret, so they killed an entire town as a cover-up.
Oh, so they released the anthrax to kill everybody so they would not be able to tell people about Delphi 9.
Delphi 9.
So Delphi 9 is not
we don't even know what Delphi
anthrax.
9. We don't even know what Delphi 9 is.
Despite the fact that Delphi 9 is a very real compound and poison.
Yes,
the fictional Delphi 9.
The fictional Delphi 9 is because, if you recall correctly,
not the
Delphi 9, James Bond, GoldenEye, which is the only explanation we get for that.
It's so fucking funny. Okay, sorry, that's the funniest shit.
Yeah.
So he goes to St. Louis. So our hero, he goes to St. Louis. There's a separate thing where he goes to the KGB and he dressed like Mario, and I actually don't think that ever results in anything. He goes to St. Louis. There are some murders with a very heavy gun that is Russian. And then he leaves. Secondarily, he finds out there's this chemical Delphi 9 that was being covered up by the anthrax attack that was actually really real. And then he goes to Milan because all the criminals are there, and he's trying to find out if they know anything about Delphi 9.
Yes.
Okay. I am caught up. I understand.
So that's where we are. Honestly, that you may have forgotten a bunch of things, but whatever.
Like whole section.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's our show. Thank you all so much for listening to Get Better. If you want to find more of our stuff, you can find us on Instagram at Get Better Podcast. That's at Get_Better_Podcast. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us at MeetTheFockers2, FockedUp@gmail.com. That is MeetTheFockers2, FockedUp@gmail.com. If you want to find even more of our stuff, you can find us on YouTube. It's at Get Better Podcast. We can find our full episodes as well as clips that you can share around. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, please continue to do so. It's actually really, really helpful. But if you're listening to us
Wait. Hold on.
Yes,
my ongoing beef with Spotify.
What's up? What's up, everybody? Sam is in the post-credits. Here he comes.
What's up? I'm off my phone. I'm talking about Spotify. So here's the thing. I mentioned a couple weeks ago that I was pissed off about how bad Spotify fucked up their podcasting. Because as you all know, I listen to like 8 hours of podcast a day. And what they did was they shuffled. Basically, they turned if you listen to a podcast, it created a random queue, which would randomize all the episodes, which is not how you should listen to any podcast. Listen to them in order. What is fucking wrong? Anyway, so not only would it randomize them, they've taken away the button that says unplayed, and if you're like me and you listen to long-running podcasts that are 500 episodes long, it's really irritating when, like, you know, you've got a couple episodes here and there you haven't listened to, but like you have to scroll through and look for them because you can't check unplayed. So, one update, they have fixed it, so now it does make a queue still, but it's if you're on episode 105, next episode in the queue. I will not forgive these people until they get back to the unplayed the unplayed button. I just want to update everybody on my ongoing feud with Spotify and their terrible fucking.
And if you're listening to us on the iTunes app, you can please leave us a rate and review. Those are actually really, really helpful. And I think that's all I have. So see you guys next week.
All right.
See you. Bye forever.